Good morning, 11th class. Today we are going to start the new chapter, Birth, by A.J. Cronin. This excerpt from Citadel, Andrew Mason, newly out of medical school, has just begun his medical practice as an assistant to Dr. Edward Page in a small Welsh mining town of Blenley. As he is returning from a disappointing evening with Christine, the girl he loves, he is met by Joe Morgan. Joe and his wife, who have been married nearly 20 years, are expecting their first child. So this is, we can say, the introduction to the chapter, in which we have the important characters. One is Andrew Mason, who is simply just, we can say, just recently passed and completed his medical practice, and he was an assistant to a doctor, Dr. Edward Page. Okay, this is the first important character. The next is Joe Morgan, who we can see is the husband of a woman who conceived a baby after 20 years of marriage. Okay, so now even we can see that the personal life of Andrew Mason is not a healthy one. He has some mental stress in his life, and the stress in life is just because of his beloved, the girl whom he loves. So there is a problem between them, and that is seen on his face, and how that thing affects his, we can say, the professional life. His personal life affecting his professional life. Alright, so now we are going to start with the chapter. Though it was nearly a midnight, when Andrew reached Bringover, he found Joe Morgan waiting for him, walking up and down with short steps between the closed surgery and the entrance of the house. At the sight of him, the burly driller's face expressed relief. Now it was the midnight time. Andrew was returning to his home. He was not happy. That was clearly visible from his face. Okay, and then when he just reached the entrance, he saw a man waiting for him, and he is waiting in restlessness because he was just moving here and there because he was getting late. Okay, now as soon as the man who was waiting saw Andrew's face, burly driller's face expressed relief. It means that the profession of Joe Morgan, that is who was the person who was waiting, he is a driller. His expression changed from a tensed fun to a very relieved expression was there on his face. And he says, "Oh doctor, I'm glad to see you. I've been back and forward here this last hour. The missus wants ye before time too." So now he expresses his tension and his reason of coming here. "My wife is almost expecting, and I was here from the last 1 hour waiting for you badly." Andrew abruptly recalled from the contemplation of his own affairs. He was lost in his own problems. Contemplation word means to think deeply. Contemplation. Think deeply. Okay? Yeah. Contemplation of his own affairs told Morgan to wait. He went into the house for his bag, and then together they started for this house, number 12 Blena Terrace. The night air was cool and deep with quiet misery. Usually so perceptive, Andrew now felt dull and listless. He was having no idea, no clue. He is just moving on, but he was not having any energy to move. Okay, plus he was very mentally he was very exhausted. He had no premonition that this night call would prove unusual, still less that it would influence his whole future in Blinley. He was not having a simple idea what this night is going to bring in his life, what change this night will bring in his life. Premonition means Premonition means something coming, something horrible about, which is about to come. We can say future happenings which are not good. Premonition. Okay, so he was not having any idea what the future is going to bring in his life. All right. Okay. The two men walked in silence until they reached the door of number 12. Then Joe drew up short. "I'll not come in," he said, and his voice showed signs of strain. "But man, I know ye will do well for us." Andrew is not at all interested in coming in, and then he was quite, we can say, underconfident, under the strain. But then Joe Morgan said, "We know you're going to be good for us." Okay, now inside, a narrow stair led up to a small bedroom, clean but poorly furnished. And now this paragraph tells us about the interior of the house. It was there was a small bedroom. It was clean, but the furniture was not so good or rich, we can say. There was just a small oil lamp. Mrs. Morgan's mother is there, grey-haired woman. She is of 70 years of age and stout. Her bed a little bit bent like this due to age. Elderly midwife, a dai, we can say, waited beside the patient, watching Andrew's expressions as he moved about the room. Now everybody is focusing on whom? Andrew. Why? Because he is here for something every family member is waiting for so many years, and if we want a number, it is 20 years. So they are all looking up in expectations. They are having a higher level of expectations for the from the doctor. "Let me make you a cup of tea," said the former quickly after a few moments. Andrew smiled faintly. He saw that the old woman, wise in experience, realized there must be a period of waiting, that she was afraid he would leave the case, saying he would return later. Now Andrew was already in a tensed situation. Secondly, he was not entering also in the house. But then as he was coming inside, he was looking the way he was looked by the people in the house. So now everybody is afraid that if this doctor goes, so the person, that is Andrew, is aware of the feelings of every person is having inside. They just do not want him to leave this house at any cost. So that is why he says in mind, he realizes, he can observe that, and he says, "I can feel that the old lady, the mother of Mrs. Morgan, yes." So now the mother of Mrs. Morgan also, who does not want the doctor to leave, and she is ready to prepare a cup of tea for Andrew. This shows the curiosity of even the oldest member in the family for the child, for the birth of a child. Okay, so then Andrew says, "Don't fret, mother, I will not run away. Do not worry, fret, do not get tensed. I am not going to go from here." Down in the kitchen, he drank the tea which she gave. Overwrought as he was, he knew he could not snatch even an hour's sleep if he went home. He knew too that the case here would demand all his attention. A queer lethargy of spirit came upon him. He decided to remain until everything was over. An hour later, he went upstairs again, noted the progress made, came down once more, sat by the kitchen fire. It was still, except for the rustle of a cinder in the grate and slow tick-tock of the wall clock. No, there was another sound, the beat of Morgan's footsteps as he paced in the street outside. The old woman opposite him sat in a black dress, quite motionless, her eyes strangely alive and wise, probing, never leaving his face. Now everybody's eyes are on Andrew. If he moves, his footsteps could be heard. And everybody is having an expression, please do not leave. His thoughts were heavy, muddled. He is already having a tensed mind. One thought and another, and then another, and that is how the thoughts are leaping over each other. Muddled, confused, absolutely. The episode he had witnessed at Cardiff station still obsessed him morbidly. So, at station now, it means that Andrew went to meet Christine at the station, and there was something which was very, very horrible that he is still not able to forget about it. He thought of Bramwell, foolishly devoted to a woman who deceived him sordidly, of Edward Page, bound to a shrewish Blodwen of Denny, living unhappily apart from his wife. His reason told him that all these marriages were dismal failures. It was a conclusion which, in his present state, made him wince. He wished to consider marriage as an idyllic state. Yes, he could not otherwise consider it with the image of Christine before him. Her eyes, shining towards him, admitted no other conclusion. It was a conflict between his level, doubting mind and his overflowing heart which left him resentful and confused. Now, he has seen many episodes in his life. He has seen an episode of Bramwell. Foolishly this man is foolishly, like blindly, madly, was after a woman. He was devoted to a woman, but that woman, she deceived him badly. Okay. And then another experience, Edward Page. He was with a Jewish Blodwen of Denny. The name of girl. Good morning, madam. Good morning. So another man, Edward Page, he was bound to a Jewish Blodwen of Denny, and he was living unhappily apart from his wife. Earlier, they were both very, very caring for each other. But as the time passed, that care and every, like we can say, the emotion, it all got away with the passage of time. And now finally both of them are separated. They are living alone. So according to Andrew now, when he has looked at all these experiences in his life, he feels that marriage is a state which is perfect, but it is only in ideas. If you are going to come to a practical life, all these things are failures. They are not going to be successful. But then again, he is reminded of his own beloved Christine. And then when he thinks about her face, he just always looks at the eyes which are shining towards him. When Christine looks at Andrew, so her eyes are shining. It means that it shows that she loves him. It shows that she cares for him. But then finally, again, a conclusion is something which is very less, we can say, successful idea of marriage. He let his chin sink upon his chest, stretched out his legs, stared broodingly into the fire. He remained like this so long, and his thoughts were so filled with Christine, that he started when the old woman opposite suddenly addressed him. Her meditation had pursued a different course. Now when he was thinking about all these things, the old woman, that is Mrs. Morgan's mother, is continuously looking at Andrew. Okay, so this is going on in the room. Susan said not to give her the chloroform if it would harm the baby. Now finally we come to know the name of Joe Morgan's wife. Now Susan said, whenever the time comes to give birth, I am not wanting to have chloroform because it can harm the baby. She is awful set up upon this child, doctor. Her old eye warmed at a sudden thought. She added in a low tone, we all are, I fancy. Now the old woman is saying, look at her, she is so much tensed and worried about the baby, and that shows that how badly she wants the baby. Even we all, me, that is grandmother, who will be the grandmother, me, my daughter-in-law, my son, we all are very badly waiting. I fancy, I imagine. He collected himself with an effort. It won't do any harm, the anesthetic, he said kindly. They'll be all right. Here the nurse's voice was heard calling from the top landing. Andrew glanced at the clock, which now showed 3:30. He rose and went up to the bedroom. He perceived that he might now begin his work. Now, till here, I want, dear students, that you read the chapter till here, work, and revise it till here, because I have done it till here only, and you have to just go through the chapter till the last, read the chapter till the last, and then in the next class we are going to read it not line by line, in short. Okay, so I have given you the introduction and the base of the chapter, how and what it will be. The coming part is very interesting. Keep on reading, and I'm going to see you in the next video.